Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
To give for free or not to give for free? That is the question. What do you think? As a coach, consultant, or small business owner, would you ever give your work out for free? Or have you ever worked for free in order for you to earn a project or land a job? Or should coaches and consultants be willing to do free trials? Now, I don't know about you, but I know that you don't need to sacrifice your income to do what you love. And you can actually have both. I want to walk you through a simple step-by-step plan that actually shows you exactly how we get this done so that you're not just giving away your work out on spec or as samples out there. But obviously, we need to discuss, whether there's merit in you going out and giving your work out for free, with the hopes that somebody would actually then say, I will then use you. For your coaching, or your training, or your information, or your expertise, just because you've given them a free sample. I mean, in other industries, it is okay for this to be looked at and say, hey, I need to try out the cake before we assign you as the wedding cake baker, or I need to try out these clothes before I step out onto an interview, etc., etc. But the kind of work that we do involves a lot of, intellectual knowledge. It involves a lot of information, a lot of expertise, and sometimes we are shortcutting the learning curve for our customers, and yet some of them just expect us to give it out for free just so that they can see if it is something that they're interested in or not. I can acknowledge that growing your business is tough. You're probably cold calling potential clients and having them hang up in your face, and you're sending out hundreds of emails without getting as much as a, hey, thanks, Sally, for reaching out. And you're wasting thousands of dollars on ad spend without getting or generating any qualified leads. And sometimes it can actually feel like no one wants to buy what you're selling unless you've offered it to them for free to try out first. And when you're actually relying on your business to maybe pay rent and put food on the table, it can put an enormous strain on your emotions, and you're obviously terrified, and you're having to give up on your dreams, and then maybe having to return to a 9-to-5 job with your tail tucked between your legs just because you can't bring in clients. But I mean, obviously, as a coach, consultant, or an entrepreneur, you're probably asking yourself, how then can I grow my business and compete with the bigger players if I'm not offering these freebies in order for people to get a glimpse or a test of what it is I've got to offer? And I know the biggest problem for you as an entrepreneur is marketing is just one aspect of running a successful business. You going from hiring and managing new staff and balancing new books and driving growth and a whole lot of other hats that we have to wear every single day. And it feels like a constant balancing act where you're pulled in multiple different directions all at once. And at the end of the day, your real goal is just to help your clients. You want to spend as much time as possible changing people's lives and solving people's problems. And you don't want to waste countless hours each and every week trying to navigate the complex world of marketing. And you certainly don't have to spend yet another minute on the phone having to beg people to hire your services or offer your services out there for free. Now, I've got a question now, and I asked this at the beginning of the podcast. Should coaches, consultants, and small business owners offer their first piece of maybe consulting, training, information, expertise, or paid speaking for free? Or should businesses actually ask for it? And I can already hear the sounds of hot button of the keyboard or phone being pushed in the distance right there, and maybe some writers or coaches, sharpening their pencils so they can poke my eyeballs out, or some business folk prepping, their knuckles and cracking their fingers, just so they can write that email to coaches and consultants saying, sorry, we can't work with you until we've seen what it is that you can do for us. You see, I work with a lot of coaches and consultants, and I was recently part of a discussion on this topic with a few friends from the industry, and I found it very interesting. And there was raised, opinions, and these opinions were both strong and varied, and it actually really got me to start thinking, wait a minute, are people still putting out work out there just so that they can be chosen? It was very it was not an easy concept for me to grasp. So some in the discussion felt like it was actually an essential part of maybe the hiring process, of how you get hired as a coach or a consultant, where you actually help businesses vet poor candidates. And others feel like it's an unreasonable thing for businesses to ask for. And having worked on both sides of this relationship, both hiring maybe consultants and coaches and being the coach or consultant that gets hired, I actually understand both sides. You know what I mean? Businesses want to be sure that the coach or consultant that they're hiring is worth their salt and is going to be fit for the projects that they're hiring them for. And feeling that an initial discount is well worth establishing maybe a long-term relationship with the author. I remember my friend Matt once actually said that test projects sort out passengers from drivers, while portfolios don't. And I think they're good, because portfolios, it could be something that other people have done in the past. So, people want to see whether you're the actual person that was, creating those websites or coming up with those strategies based on their actual situation. Okay. And, I remember Stuart, one of my other consultant friends, says, he's worked for free to land big deals. What he says is quite funny. He says proposals are free work. For example, sending out a proposal is already free work. So, professionals choose if they want to work for free. So, some people actually charge to send out a proposal. Some people actually charge an initial, first conversation. Just let me know in the comments below how you operate your business. All right. So it is also important that contextually, both people, referred to in these examples, they need to, be their opinions to be heard. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, some people don't even wake up before money has landed in their accounts, and some people like myself would want to put out a strategy first and then invoice later. Okay, so a lot of coaches and consultants want to get paid for the work that they provide. I mean, that's a given, but feeling that the initial discount that they put out as ahead, it actually sets a bad precedent for the relationship, because it undermines the value that the coach is putting out and putting them at personal risk, because people do not really appreciate the work that they haven't paid for. People don't appreciate anything that they've been given for free. Okay, so some people would say that, coaches and consultants do not do the first initial part for free. I mean, you might as well put chains on yourself. If you're good and they want what you have, they would have to pay for it. Okay, so before we keep going, I've noticed we're already 8 minutes into this podcast. I want to preface that this discussion, by saying that this is not an attack on any business or any coach, nor do I think they should be enemies. Those that give out stuff for free and those that give out invoices before they've even engaged with the person. Half of the time, with a lot of coaches, we are coming from a place of abundance, and with a lot of consultants, we're very operating from our head, which is our intellect. So both of these are best. In order for you to run a business, obviously you need to be operating from the heart, and also you need to be using your logic. All right. So I don't want you to think that I'm gonna be picking sides. No, am I putting this up for a misguided attempt to spark controversy? Around this whole topic. What I really want is for us to explore these opinions as they come, and knowing that, I don't want you to put this into the media and then say this is what he said. You know what I mean? I'm just really weighing up these scenarios, and knowing that, I'd like to offer up my take on this question, but in typical consultancy fashion, I'm going to start by telling you a little bit of a story. Okay, I want you to imagine the following scenario. That a couple are walking down Main Street, and they find themselves hungry on a Saturday night, and they decide they want to go out for dinner. And then they hop on Yelp or whatever menu log, and they read all about the available reviews about of the food places that are nearby, and finally deciding on a well-rated restaurant that is just maybe a couple of blocks away. And when they arrive, they're promptly sort of greeted by one of the wait staff, who gives them menus to look over and immediately gives them maybe water to drink or something like that. And as they sit, they start admiring the decor, and they start taking photos of each other, and then they start watching as other meals are delivered to the tables around them, and each and every one of the meals that comes out is probably like a sizzling steak, and each and every one of them is looking much more delicious than the last. And finally, when the waiter returns to the table and asks for their order, the couple would just say, well, we've read your reviews, watch the other tables get their meals ready through your menu, but we're still not sure whether we would like to eat here or not. Could you bring us a few entrees, and maybe that could help us decide? Well, what do you think the waiter is gonna do? When maybe the other party of that couple then says, we'll probably come back if we like your food. Do you think the restaurant would comply with that? Okay. Or would you, if you owned the restaurant? Okay. Because right now I can actually see you rolling your eyes all the way to the back, and you can actually see the white earphones you're listening this from. You know what I mean? Because I know it is over the top analogy, but I think it actually illustrates a really good point. Because if the couple had multiple opportunities to actually evaluate the quality of the food, they're seeing what other people are being given, they've seen the reviews, I don't think it's fair for them to actually then ask for a free ride in the hopes that they will place this will place them in the realm of making this their go-to restaurants. And I see that a lot with a lot of what do they call them? Now it's left me. Influencers. A lot of influencers go to a business and say, I've got 500,000 followers, so you should give me this for free and I'll tweet about it or something like that. Let me tell you something. Your followers might not be what the restaurant is looking for, or maybe your followers might actually be an international crowd. So at the end of the day, who you know or what you know doesn't really make that transaction valuable at that particular moment. So obviously, given that couple in that example, obviously, if I own that restaurant, I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. Even I'm famous, all right? So every relationship involves a risk. When you ask a girl out, or when you go on a bus, or when you do anything and you start an endeavor with anyone else, we all don't know what the next minute is going to look like. So why are business people asking for like a sample before they've even started the business? whether you're hiring new staff or new employee, when you're brokering, maybe new joint venture, or you're contracting out your services, every business relationship comes with a degree of risk. There has to be an element of trust, of leaping in, without, taking advantage of the other party. And it's your job to actually mitigate that risk in appropriate ways as a business person. All right. So, you could hire somebody new and they could perform brilliantly on your skills test, but they could wind up becoming the biggest sexual offender in the office. You wouldn't have known that by asking them to write a sample, copy of the work that they can do. They could be a really good, a pen pusher, but they are not really good, in groups. So a supplier or somebody that you can ask, or a vendor, can nail your first order, and they can then eventually they can completely botch every single order after that, because you've given them the benefit of the doubt. So a business might be great to work with on a project, on day one, but when it then comes to 90 days, they don't pay their bills. So, all of these things, we got to weigh them up as we get into relationships, with our customers, et cetera, et cetera. And especially those that would then say, hey, I want a sample of your work, because risk doesn't end at the beginning of a relationship, and it's about choosing to work with people that you trust. So when it comes to coaches and consultants, how can you find these people without asking them to work for free? How can people determine that you are actually the best kind of person to work with without them asking for samples from you? All right, because requesting appropriate fees speaks to the value placed on your work. Okay, in order for others to value your work, the process actually starts with you, the coach or the consultant. It begins by you establishing your credibility and trust prior to ever placing anything on the marketplace. Okay, who are you, and why should anybody care to buy from you in the first place? So by you building credibility first, you are then able to sell value, and people are not going to be asking for samples or for you to prove yourself before they've even engaged with your services out there. And you might be sitting there and asking, how do I then build this credibility? Obviously, we've got free tools like social media. We've got, your own website, and even the first impression that you give out to people when they meet you, depending on the circumstances that they've actually met you, even if it's online on Zoom. Okay. So whether you're selling to one single entrepreneur or to a really big business, everyone takes their work and ideas very seriously. All right. So when you're reaching out to people, you want to research the person to whom you're about to meet. And then if it is an executive team, find out what common ground that you have, and then we've got all these easy places for us to research, like LinkedIn, in order for you to gain some sort of personal insight about each person prior to meeting them. Okay, because profiles that people have created online usually indicate that the individual has something of importance that they like, and if you tip into that, obviously people do business with those they know, like, and trust. All right, so glance through those posts and tweets for you to have an improved understanding of who you're going to be dealing with. And once people think that you value what they're doing, obviously they're going to reciprocate that value back based on how you've actually magnified their self-worth, and everyone that's coming to us as a coach or consultant obviously has a website if you in the B2B space. So you want to click every tab of the client to be website. I've been in meetings with coaches and consultants, and they've never taken the time to look at my website. They haven't taken the time to even look at who I am. All they are fixated on is how to deliver and how to sell their whiz bang idea. And that's why people don't value what you're saying, because you haven't taken the time to see if there is a client product match, according to what it is that you're going to be selling to them. So you want to click every tab for your client to be website. Take note of what catches their attention, and Your notes become the best conversation starters once you actually advance past the introductory small talk. There are so many times that I get into a client meeting and we never even talk about my business. It's happened so many times, and then the person says, just send me an invoice. You know why? Because you took the time to listen to them. Some people don't even have people listening to them, and if you do that for them, it actually puts you in a unique position. They don't want to lose that. They'll pay you money even if they don't know what they're buying from you. All right? So you want to read up on the industry that the person is in and how the company rates among their competitors, all the things that are important to your client to be. And next, you want to read up on what problems they might be facing in the industry, because any knowledge that you have about somebody else will put you in the best seat for you to actually close a deal before they've even asked you what it is that you're selling and how it's going to help them. Because once you've done your homework ahead of time, it actually empowers your conversation with them, because it makes you become present and you are looking out for that reaction, to see how they're going to feel after they realize that you've done your homework. Because trust and credibility are quickly built when somebody feels like you understand them, you get them. All right, they're not going to ask for a sample or for them to see what you're doing for them, because they've already seen it firsthand, you right in front of them, listening to them. A lot of us have that little child inside of them that hasn't been listened to ever since they were a kid. Even if you've got kids right now, your kid might be trying to tell you something, or say, Dad, watch, Mom, watch, and then we don't listen to them. And all they're ever going to be doing is finding other people or adults that will listen to them. And that's why kids get stolen, because that adult listened to them. And then if you become that coach or consultant who actually opens up themselves to listen to your client to be, guess what? The inner child in them comes forth and then opens up what do they have at this current moment? Their wallet. All right. So you don't even need to worry about knowing how you're going to present yourself or what it is that you're going to say. Just find out as much as you can about the other person and listen to them talk, because everybody loves the sound of their own voice, and you build that trust and credibility pretty quick. And once that's accomplished, you will have the right formula for you to build a well-recognized personal brand, so much that nobody's going to ask you for samples anymore. All right. And one of the initial rewards for having done your homework is that your conversation becomes much more friendlier. You're speaking from your heart. Okay, the process will put you far ahead of any competitors who's talking about facts and figures about the industry, which your client probably doesn't even care for. Your client wants a hug right now, and your words are the hug that is going to set you apart from anybody else who's going to try and sell the same products that you're selling. And on occasion, you actually be instructed on how to actually win their business, because your prospective clients actually enjoys speaking to you. So they will tell you how to actually sell to them. All right? Because in the early stages of you being a coach or a consultant, it's actually expected that sometimes you have to give away your services for free in order for you to build credibility. But there comes a point in time when no one can actually afford to continue down this path. How are you going to be paying for your bills? So have you reached your limit in giving away, services for free, or samples, or maybe consulting or training or information or your expertise for free? Or are you still being asked to come and, speak for free while the other people on the panel are being paid? You want to sell value. Sell value, because we get paid in direct proportion to the value that we bring to the marketplace. So frequently, it is a lack of self-confidence that is now called into question. You want to review your past accomplishments and actually list them. And if you're active on social media, review the nice comments or acknowledgements that you've received from past clients. Because what is a common thread in all of this? Focus on the commonality to actually build talking points for your clientele, because marketing pieces can actually be created around what other people feel about you, and this becomes your grassroots, branding program from the best. People don't want to hear about what you have done, but they want to know how you can help them. So if you see how you've helped other people in the past, you can speak from that perspective. Because setting a fee for services also requires a bit of research, okay? You'll need to decide if you wish to be at the top of the scale, midway, or right at the bottom. All right. And then find out how you're going to be valuing yourself in order for you to actually then charge or command higher fees. Because there's an emotional tie to all of this, Because imagine yourself at maybe a department store like at M.E.D.I.A, and you're drooling over the first expensive designer, section, and timidly walking through the reduced pricing section. Because that's why at the at shopping malls they put the most expensive things right at the start, so it gives you a reference point to say, oh, okay, so this must be a bargain because that little perfume was maybe $1,000. All right, so at the end of the day, where would you want your services to appear? In the designer section or in the reduced buckets where people buy things for $1? The way in which you build your credibility and that actually produces referrals, testimonials, is to actually charge a fee that is fair, first of all, to you, and then also according to the value that you're putting there in the marketplace. Okay, so you want to deliver on and possibly beyond the expectations of what your clientele is receiving so that they can write testimonials, and you can then use those testimonials as your marketing fodder so that you don't go out and give your services out for free because you feel you're not credible enough. So as long as you're producing high credible information and content out there, and you're really understanding, your target market, and you're putting out outstanding customer care, and you're exceeding expectations, you will produce a clientele that actually sees value in the work that you're putting out there. And the best news is you will have developed a returning and referring clientele that pays, stays, and actually refers, which is basically what it is that we need in our business, in order for the business to be profitable and enjoyable. So all of this is simple because it is all part of the online prosperity method, which is a simple system that we've developed by throwing away all the stale marketers rule book and adopting this cutting edge new approach. All right, I've helped, scale my own business from 0 to about 450 clients in about 6 years, and we now have a staff of about 16 people. And I've been able to live my dream lifestyle, travel the world, and support my growing family. And the best part about this online prosperity method is that it can be adopted at any scale, to any service business, so that they can have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. You don't have to put your work out there for free just so that you have, you don't, or sacrifice any income so that you can do what you love. You can actually have both. So like I said, you've got tools at your disposal to learn what it is that you can put out there, read and find out what is it in the past, and if you've got any examples that you may actually use in order to give out to people so that they don't ask for free work. Okay? Out there, it is a negotiation. It's not a war. All right, and I'm realizing towards the end of this podcast, it might be misinterpreted. I'm not suggesting that businesses or coaches and consultants need to be guarded and adversarial and be at war with each other. From the get go. I'd never work with a client again if that was what they expected of me. But I love people to work with each other so that they can build each other in order for them to grow. This is not a world where the common goal is to screw each other over, but it's business. Both parties deserve to be treated like professionals. So I don't know, what do you think? Have you ever worked for free in order to earn a project or to land a job? Or should coaches or consultants be willing to do free trials out there in order for them to prove their worth to people? Because when you start commanding appropriate fees, It actually speaks to the value that is placed on your work, and we do get paid in direct proportion to the value that we bring to the marketplace out there. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au